Hey everyone, get ready because today's explainer is taking us on a seriously amazing adventure. We're going to uncover a massive mystery, a midnight game of hide and seek, and a really beautiful love story. And guess what? It's found right inside the biblical text. This isn't just your average story, though. I mean, it is packed with wild descriptions, secret gardens, and a search that's absolutely going to keep you on the edge of your seat. So get comfy and let's jump right into the great search. Okay, I want you to think about this for a quick second. Have you ever been fast asleep in your super cozy, warm bed, and suddenly, bam, there's a loud knock at your door? Maybe you were so comfortable you just did not want to get up. Or, maybe you were so sleepy you just laid there crossing your fingers that whoever it was would just go away. Well, believe it or not, that exact feeling, that's exactly how our big story today kicks off. So the story we're looking at today comes from a book called The Song of Songs. It's this really special, highly poetic book in the biblical text. See, instead of just listing rules or telling a standard history story, it uses these beautiful flowing words and word pictures to describe perfect love. And as we'll discover by the end of our explainer today, this amazing poem is really like a giant puzzle piece meant to help us understand the incredible, perfect love of God. Now, to really get what's happening here, you kind of need to know that this poem reads a lot like a script for a play. Basically, different characters take turns speaking, so you've got to listen really closely to figure out who's talking. First up, we have she, the bride, who is deeply in love and goes on this massive search. Then we have him, the beloved groom, who she's actually looking for. And finally, we have the friends, sometimes called the daughters of Jerusalem, and they act almost like a chorus, asking questions and helping out around the city. Part 1, the midnight search. Okay, let's dive right into this. It's late at night, the city is super quiet, the streets are pitch dark, and everyone is sound asleep. This is where our great search officially begins. So it's nighttime. The bride is sleeping, but she says her heart is awake. Then suddenly she hears a sound. It's him. Her beloved is actually knocking at the door. He says, "Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove." He's been out in the damp, chilly night, and his head is literally drenched with dew. But she hesitates. I mean, she's already taken off her robe, she's scrubbed her feet clean, and she really doesn't want to get them all dirty again. But then her heart just starts pounding for him. She finally jumps up, her hands dripping with this sweet-smelling perfume called myrrh, and unbolts the door. But oh no, it's too late. She opens the door and he is gone. He had already left. Man, can you imagine how her heart must have just totally sunk? She missed him. So what does she do? She doesn't just crawl back into bed. No way. She goes out into the dark, scary city to find him. It turns into this dangerous midnight search. While she's out looking for him, she actually runs into the city watchmen. The guards making their nightly rounds. But they aren't helpful at all. They actually rough her up a bit and take away her cloak. Finally, totally desperate and tired, she finds her friends, the daughters of Jerusalem. She begs them, saying, "If you find my beloved, what will you tell him? Tell him I am faint with love." She just wants him back so badly. Part 2, decoding the royal descriptions. Right, so when she begs her friends for help, they don't just instantly start running around looking for him. Instead, they stop and ask her a really important question. And her answer? It's filled with some of the most amazing royal descriptions you will ever hear. The friends look at her and basically ask, "How is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women?" They're pretty much saying, look, why is this groom so incredibly special that you're making us search this entire pitch-black city for him? What exactly makes him stand out from everyone else out there? Now, she doesn't just say, "Oh, well, he's nice." No. She describes him using literally the absolute most expensive, beautiful, and royal materials in the ancient world. She says his head is the purest gold. His arms are rods of gold set with sparkling topaz jewels. His body is like polished ivory decorated with blue lapis lazuli, and his legs, they're like strong pillars of marble set on bases of pure gold. She is proving to them that he is an absolute priceless treasure. He's incredibly strong, valuable, and just perfectly majestic. But wait, she doesn't just stick to gold and marble, she uses some pretty funny animal comparisons too. Let's play a little metaphor decoder game, okay? In the biblical text, she says his eyes are like doves by the water streams. Now, if someone walked up to you today and told you your eyes look like birds, you'd probably laugh, right? But in the biblical text, this was an amazing compliment. Doves hanging out by calm water meant that his eyes, and really his whole personality, were wonderfully peaceful, gentle, and kind.
Okay, let's decode another one. She says his cheeks are like beds of spice yielding perfume, and his lips are like lilies dripping with myrrh. Again, having a face like a spice rock sounds kind of hilarious to us, but if we decode it, she's actually saying that his words, his voice, and just his presence are incredibly sweet, loving, and comforting. Basically, everything about him is pleasant and brings her total joy. He is, like she says, altogether lovely.
Part 3. Reunion in the Garden. So, after describing how utterly amazing and perfect he is, a light bulb goes off. The friends ask which way he went, and suddenly she remembers exactly where her beloved would be. The scary midnight search is finally coming to an end. She suddenly realizes, wait, my beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the garden, and to gather lilies. And she finds him. She says this super beautiful, famous line, I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. They are finally reunited in the garden. And you gotta remember, gardens in the biblical text are always these incredible places of peace, joy, life, and total safety. The search is finally over and they're together again.
And now that they're together, it's his turn to praise her. And oh boy, he uses some descriptions that will definitely make us chuckle today. He tells her, your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Gilead. I mean, imagine telling someone their hair looks like a bunch of goats running down a mountain. But back then, the goats of Gilead had these rich, black, flowing coats. So saying her hair was like a flock of goats was actually a massive compliment. It meant her hair was thick, dark, wavy, and absolutely gorgeous.
It really just shows how different their world was from ours. Next, he says her teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is missing. Okay, comparing someone's teeth to freshly washed sheep is definitely funny, but what's the secret meaning? Well, a freshly washed sheep is bright white. And saying every sheep has a twin and none are missing, that just means she has a perfect, full, bright white smile with 0 missing teeth. He's looking at her and seeing absolute perfection. But it's way beyond just having a great smile. She is truly so special to him. He calls her his dove, his perfect one. He says she is completely unique. In fact, he says there could be 60 queens and 80 concubines, but she is way better than all of them combined. The friends even chime in and say she appears like the dawn, fair as the moon and bright as the sun. He just loves her so much, and to him, there is literally no one else in the entire world who even comes close to her. Part 4, a picture of God's love. So what does this all mean? Why is this ancient love story sitting right there in the biblical text? Why do we read about this bride searching the dark city for her groom and him praising her smile and her goat-like hair? Well, it's because this whole story is actually a giant picture meant to teach us something much bigger about our own lives. Let's make the big connection here. First, we saw the bride desperately searching for her groom because she loved him so much. In the exact same way, we're meant to seek and search for God. We might hesitate at the door sometimes, just like she did, but we're called to chase after him with our whole hearts. And just like the groom was described as pure gold and precious jewels, God is incredibly wonderful, valuable, and completely perfect. And finally, the best part. Just like the groom looked at the bride and called her flawless, unique, and his perfect dove, that is exactly how God sees us. When we belong to him, he loves us with that exact same magnificent, perfect, and joyful love. The bride went searching through the dark streets just to find the one she loved, and when she found him, it was this beautiful reunion in a peaceful garden. God's love for us is exactly that beautiful, and he wants us to seek him just as eagerly. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Knowing how valuable and amazing he is, how can you start looking for him in your own life today? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible search through the biblical text for this explainer, and hey, keep seeking that perfect love.